Bună ziua. Hello. Oh, shit. Huh? Oh. Wait just a second, I need to test the audio. Okay, no, way too loud. Hello? Hello? Yeah, I'm having some difficulties right now. I don't know why, but yeah. Uh, okay. Hello again. Okay, yeah, this should be fine. Now it is time to actually fucking start the stream. Let me just get my webcam to work. Okay, good. Now let's switch back to YouTube chat. Okay. So god damn it. Okay, so yeah, welcome to today's stream. Today we will be reading the SCP light novel. Wait a second, something's going wrong again. Of course, something is going wrong. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't something go wrong here? Okay, anyway, it seems everything is fine. Let me just plug my phone into its charger so that it doesn't die in the middle of the stream. And yeah, we should be good to go, I guess. So yeah, as the title of this stream suggests, we are going to be reading the SCP light novel called Iris Through the Looking Glass. I have no idea as to how much of it we will be reading in today's stream, but yeah, I'm hoping at least maybe one or at least one or two chapters, but I think one chapter is going to be how much we're going to read today. So yeah, let me just drink some water. Don't forget to hydrate too. Hydration is important. Okay. So yeah, let's start this bitch up. Here we have some really nice illustrations of uh, the blonde girl, which she is the SCP named Iris, and some hentai protagonist looking ass dude. Yeah, don't fucking tell me the. Don't tell me I need to resize. Okay, yep, I need to resize this. Okay, transform. Crop. Okay. And now crop this side. And we should be good to go. Let me just position this correctly. No more to this side. A bit. Okay. It's good. Let's start with the prologue called The Girl in the Photos. Part of my daily routine included dropping by this one library after school, but not because of any particular fondness for reading. Given the choice, I prefer to run free in the great outdoors. In an age where I could read the manga on my smartphone with the click of a button, pretty much the only physical books in my life were the textbooks necessary for my senior high school classes. Oh, damn. I never saw much appeal in physical books. My eyes grew tired simply from running across rows of text. As such, the reason why I frequented this library lay elsewhere. Damn, this is relatable as hell. Like, my god. That's me in a nutshell. Except that we don't have libraries in here. So, fascinating, squealed senpai, standing right in front of a poster with the words "No talking" written on it in large bold font. A third year a, th- a third year student, and so a year ahead of me, she was the vice president of the student council at my high school. Thanks to some ancestors from Canada or the USA, the color of her hair resembled honey in the sunlight. Her eyes were such a vivid ultramarine that it was hard to believe the color was natural. Although her well-defined facial features matched the image of a Western beauty, her wild imagination kept the other students at bay. Let's get right down to it, Kun, Senpai said, twirling her fingers around as she looked down at me excitedly. I was average height for a senior high boy, but she was abnormally tall. To top it off, she made sure to tower over me whenever she spoke, which really laid the pressure on. It was intimidating. I shrank a bit. My back rammed against the bookcase fixed to the floor, while nimbly caught a few books that fell from the shelves. Senpai rattled on. There are some really strange rumors surrounding this library. People rate it one of the 7 wonders of the school, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but apparently this library was originally part of a university that got shut down. It's uncertain whether it was deemed too much of a hassle to demolish after the university was gone, or if some kind of intrigue was in play. But it's all that remains standing. She was a bit hard to follow, that girl. She never really bothered to stop and gather her thoughts. She let her words spill out however they came to mind. But I felt I needed to at least give the pretense of listening, so I bowed my head like an idiot. Damn. Indifferent to my lukewarm response, Senpai continued prattling on, completely unfazed. That's what makes it one of our school's 7 wonders. Apparently, the strange rumors surrounding the place date all the way back to when the university was still standing. I'm nuts about paranormal stuff, so I've been looking into it. Like I didn't know that. That was precisely why I decided to talk to her in the first place. I was currently caught up in some supernatural mumbo jumbo of my own. I had no idea who else to turn to, certainly not my parents, teachers, or friends, let alone the police. I had no doubt they would just laugh it off, saying something like, "Where did you come up with that crazy idea?" Grasping at straws, I turned to this upperclassman, a girl who'd been ostracized for never once backing down from her declaration of "I love the supernatural." That love was on full display. This library is incredible. It's a treasure trove of mysteries and creepy rumors. The occult on parade. Parade, yeah, that's it. That's how you pronounce the word. She drew so close that I swore it was bad for my poor adolescent heart. And then she broke into a big grin. Throwing both arms wide open, she looked lovingly around her, taking in several deep breaths. It was nerve-wracking the way her breath touched my forehead when she exhaled. The two of us were surrounded by countless aisles of library stacks. Even though it was an early summer's afternoon, the lighting was dim and gloomy. Blame that on the black curtains lowered over the windows to prevent the books from yellowing. Apparently, the fluorescent lights arrayed along the ceiling were burnt out. They failed to offer any light at all. Put bluntly, it was one creepy library. Going by the stains and cracks along the walls, it was a rather old building. Mold and cobwebs completely overran places where damp had settled in. The place was practically in ruins. It was hard to believe the building was currently in use. I guess nobody wanted to set foot in that creepy facility because I didn't see any librarians, let alone other patrons browsing the aisles. Senpai and I were the only ones there. Her voice carried so well, it actually hurt my ears. Oblivious to me squinting in pain, she continued her excited rant. Actually, there are so many weird rumors, I can't even remember them all. For instance, they say there's a demon that will pop out of a book here and grant one wish in exchange for your soul. And if you crack open this one other unlabeled book, your fate will appear on the blank pages for you to read. If you stick your hand in the crack between the stacks, you can get drawn to another world. There are a whole bunch of awesome rumors. Oh, there's even one about a girl who reads all by her lonesome self for all for her lonesome all by her lonesome self for all eternity in the girl's restroom, and that room's sealed shut. Actually, mind if I go to the little girl's room? Seeming to think nothing of asking that awkward question, she spun right around. She was on cloud 9, seemed pretty safe to assume that her love of ghost stories was the real deal. Personally, I didn't care for that sort of thing. As far as I was concerned, an upperclassman going gaga over scary stories and creepy rumors just looked nuts. I hadn't come here for cheap thrills or ghost stories. Honestly, I was more than ready to leave. Now, that phenomenon you experienced, wait, who's talking? Okay, yeah, it is her. The, why don't we dub it the girl in the photos? I never heard of anything like it. You might have something completely new on your hands. Too cool, she squealed. Squirming in the light and pushing her face even closer to mine, I thought I might lose my mind. She was so dang close that her legs and chest brushed up against me. Okay, interesting. So yeah, taking a little break. Yeah, this dude definitely has the hots for her, even though he does think she's a little nutso. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, I'd like to take a sec to review what you told me, so be sure to correct me if I'm wrong about anything. The other day you came to this library to do some of your summer homework, correct? Senpai must have noticed she was getting a little short on personal space because she slid back a few steps before continuing. You had to write a personal reflection on a reading assignment, right? What a stupid piece of homework. But since you're a relatively diligent student, you decided to take it seriously and went to the nearest library. That just so happened to be here, right? And that's where you encountered the paranormal. Senpai picked up one of the books that had fallen earlier and began callously flipping through its pages. Wasn't there supposed to be a photo stuck inside every single book you picked up in the library? That was right. If it was as simple as that, it would be nothing to freak out about. It would freak out about. I could dismiss it with the perfect. Oh God! I could dismiss it with the perfectly rational theory that someone who borrowed the books from this library used photos instead of bookmarks and forgot to remove them before returning the books. But if that was the extent of the situation, it wouldn't have me so upset. I wouldn't turn to this weirdo for help either. No matter what book you grabbed and flipped open, there was the photo. The result was the same regardless of which stacks or books you tried. Do you still have one by any chance? No way. They were so creepy, I stuffed them back into the box I found them in. I didn't see any good coming out of holding on to one, and honestly, just making off with them didn't seem right. Ah, too bad. If you still had them, I could have used one to dig up a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, just so you know, it's not like I don't believe you or anything, okay? It's rare to find physical evidence in the world of the occult. Senpai cackled before a stern expression suddenly crossed her face. All of this, well, could be explained logically if someone could have contrived a highly elaborate prank. It just requires stuffing a photo in every book in the library. It's possible for me or anyone else for that matter to pull off with a bit of effort, but that's where things get really weird. Exactly. This is where the story took a turn for the truly paranormal. Even after you left, you found a picture of her stuck in every book you cracked open. It didn't matter if it was a school textbook, a book for sale at the convenience store, a manga magazine you borrowed from a friend, or part of the ancient masterpiece collection your parents have on display in the bookcase at home. These photos appear in any and all books you open anywhere without exception, right? Right. There was obviously something weird going on here. No logical explanation could cover this. It was truly a supernatural phenomenon. Was something going ahead of me? Was something going ahead of me and stuffing photos in every book I might possibly open? I couldn't see what anyone had to gain from that, and it was far too unrealistic for anyone to pull off. I found it hard to imagine there was a person or organization that would benefit from me finding pictures stuck inside books. Whenever I found them, it only served to startle me. It wasn't as if the rate of my pulse and the speed of Earth's rotation were linked, so there wasn't anything to gain from spooking a guy like me. The possibility that someone hated me to death and was doing this to torment me didn't seem likely either. The life I led shouldn't incur such spite. I was like any other mundane high school boy out there. My dude, you would be surprised. It doesn't matter how boring you are, how regular you are. Someone out there is still going to hate your guts. So yeah. Anyway, besides, if someone was going to bully me, a better plan would be to stick in something gross, or at least to use a more disturbing photo. But each time I found a photo stuck in a book, it was of the same cute girl. I I assume that girl's an acquaintance of yours. Or is she not? Senpai frowned thoughtfully. You could practically hear the gears turning in her head. I could give a clear answer on this one. I was absolutely certain I'd never met the girl before. She was a complete and total stranger. Although I didn't possess a mind so brilliant that I could remember every single person I'd met, nothing had come to me, even after pulling my hair out and racking my brain in an attempt to remember her. I was drawing a blank. I'd definitely never seen her before. I couldn't see how I had I couldn't see how I had anything to do with this unfamiliar girl. What's more, she was a foreigner, probably a Westerner, although it was difficult for a Japanese guy like myself to guess the age of a Caucasian. Interesting. Uh, I thought she was probably somewhere around my age, either in her early 20s or late teens. Wearing a kind, warm hearted expression, her pretty face was reminiscent of a flower in bloom. Neither, neither her eyes nor her hair were particularly unusual colors, but appeared to be shades rather common for Westerners. That hair extended slightly below the shoulders, generally worn loose rather than kept back, although she would bind it with a cheap-looking hair tie once in a while. No matter what, there was always an ancient camera in her hands. It gave her a vicious air, okay, somehow like a newspaper journalist. Her casual attire showed a disinterest in fashion. Many of her outfits were clearly secondhand. She was such a normal, happy looking girl, it seemed weird to call these photos of her ghost photographs. Highly intrigued, Senpai crossed her arms and fell into deep thought. Finally, she said, I wonder who she is. I've never heard of anything like this before, and so I'm certain she must be related to you somehow. After all, no one else has ever seen the girl in the photos. I checked, I checked online to see if anyone else shared the similar experience, but no hits came up. Well, that was less than helpful. I really, truly did not know this girl. Based on their genetic traits, I felt like Senpai was way closer to being related to the girl than I was. After thinking good and hard, Senpai held her breath in her hands, its distinct features revealing her own foreign ancestry. She cried out, I just don't know. This is too far out there. It would it would have made things easier if the girl in the photos presented a threat, like putting a deadly curse on you, that make this a standard ghost story, but as things stand, I have no idea what this girl is trying to do. I didn't want to die of some curse. Sure, this was a pretty creepy situation, but it seemed ultimately harmless, so at least I wasn't living in fear. I was simply curious what was up with the pictures and the girl in them. It was also a bit depressing to think photos like this would appear in any book I cracked open for the rest of my hopefully long life. If at all possible, I wanted to do something about this supernatural phenomenon. If only you knew who that girl was. Could you try figuring it out? If I know her name and nationality, I might be able to find something online, you know. Senpai's question had me at a loss. All of the photographs I'd found thus far shared almost the same exact layout. There were minor deviations between each photo, but the overall image didn't change. There was a girl in the center. The shots were extremely zoomed in. Close-ups of her face or the upper portion of her body consumed the majority of the frame. When a background was visible, it was usually just a boring gray concrete wall. A nondescript environment that only vaguely evoked speculation that she could be in a hospital, prison, or research institution. That last one is very interesting. No one other than the girl ever appeared in the photographs, and she didn't do anything to offer insight regarding her personality. She was either daydreaming, staring at me, or sleeping. They were simple photos akin to the ones used for passports and resumes. Without the sleuthing skills of a great detective, I had no idea of discerning her identity. Okay, I guess her identity is just one of the things we'll have to start looking into. I'll give you my full sup- I bleh. I'll give you my full support, so don't worry. Let's make the most out let's make the most of your miraculous encounter with the occult in this cut and dry modern world we live in. Let's give it our all, partner. Put her here. Showing absolutely no signs of calming down, Senpai forced me into a handshake and began swinging our arms up and down. Admittedly, it was probably rare to encounter such a bizarre phenomenon in the 21st century, a time when science flourished. I bet Senpai didn't want to let this chance, if you could call it that, slip her by. Although Senpai was a weirdo who made it no secret she was only doing this to sate her own curiosity, it felt kind of nice getting the whole thing off my chest. Keeping it to myself was starting to wear me down. All right, with that settled, let's start our investigation with a few tests. Senpai began carefully checking the book still in her hands, one page at a time. It doesn't look like any It doesn't look like any pictures are stashed in this one. Senpai took her time examining it carefully. The cover is intentionally designed so that you can't remove it, which makes sense since it's a library book. I don't see anywhere a photo could be hiding. She proceeded to hand it to me and continued. So next, I want you to try. Unless you are a top-notch magician, it really will be a supernatural phenomenon if you pull one of those photos out of this book. Oh, I'm so excited! Hydration check, everyone. Damn, we've already been reading this for half an hour and we're still not done with the prologue. Damn. Anyway, I held a book Senpai had just confirmed as photo free. As she said, it was physically impossible for a photograph to slip from its pages, unless, of course, Senpai was feeling mischievous and had decided to play a stupid trick on me by slipping a photo in right before handing it over. I'd never spoken to her before now. I didn't exactly trust her 100%. On the other hand, that meant there was no reason for her to tease or deceive me. Honestly, I'd never get anywhere if I kept on doubting every little thing. Feeling a little nervous, I popped open the book and briskly thumbed through the pages. Well, is it there? Where's the photo? Actually, hold up. I want to document this. I'm gonna record it on my smartphone, so give me a sec. This is so cool. I hope I get to witness the big moment. Senpai was so exciting, she was practically vibrating. It was downright annoying. Damn, bro, this girl straight up having an orgasm over a photo. But I was too preoccupied with my own issues to pay her any heed. As I casually flipped through the pages like I would any other book, I found it. The photo appeared, tucked into the fold right down the center of the spine. Cold chills ran down my back. Huh? No way! Are you kidding me? Senpai got her phone out of her pocket, but filming proved a bigger challenge. The phone slipped right out of her hands. She flayed after it, eyes wide in amazement. I was struck speechless. Just like always, a photo had appeared in the book I was holding. It was flipped backwards, so I instinctively touched the photo to turn it around. The photo was of none other than... Let me see, I wanna see, come on! Senpai cried, her piercing voice growing suddenly distant. As the sound of her cries faded, a lukewarm sensation slowly engulfed my entire body. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced before, like I was being cupped inside the giant hand. My gaze fell upon the image imprinted on the small standard-sized photo. The mysterious girl in the photo looked back up at me wearing a faintly troubled smile. Oh no. Okay, well, yeah, that's the prologue. Now we're on to chapter 1. Or, as it's known here, SCP 458. The never ending pizza box. Damn. So far, this SCP sounds fucking amazing. Fucking unlimited pizza, hell yeah. Anyway, I have no idea. I so I have no idea who is talking right now, so I'm going to continue with the voice I was talking in before. After blinking several times, it dawned on me that I was on unfamiliar ground. The air, the smell and taste of it was completely different from before. Actually, actually no. Actually, nah, I'll go with the same voice. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, it is the same guy. I just saw the end. Anyway, let's continue. Up until now, my surroundings had been filled with dusty, musty odor unique to decrepit buildings. After all, I was in the dilapidated ruins of a library. Without any form of air conditioning on hand, simply being inside the humid library in the heat of summer made me work up a sweat. But now I felt strangely cold, to the point I was getting goosebumps even. The smell drifting in the air reminded me of the poignant, I don't know how you pronounce that, stench of medicine in hospitals. In fact, the room was cramped like a hospital room. It had it had gray it had gray concrete walls just like the ones I usually saw in the background of the photos of that girl. Although they were clean, the floors, walls and ceiling were all the same boring gray. A bare light bulb hung from the ceiling. Next to me was a small stand like the ones people kept landline phones on. For some odd reason, an antique brooch that looked like it might have archaeological value had been thoughtlessly dumped on its surface. Strangely, I didn't notice any doors or windows. It felt more like I was in a box than a room. Stuck in this cubicle room, the wild idea that I'd somehow managed to travel inside a photo hit me. Vision reeling, I crumbled to the ground. As if on cue, the book with the photo slipped out of my hands and clattered across the floor. I saw now that the title of the worn book was Through the Looking Glass. Oh my god, title drop. Let's go, boys. And what Alice found there. I'd never read it before, so I wasn't totally sure what it was about. Stranger still. The photo I was holding along with the book vanished, as if it was nothing more than an illusion, a figment of a dream. Instead, the girl stood before me. She asked, in something that sounded like English, although I couldn't say for certain. Dang, it really was the girl in the photos. The pictures were always either headshots or three-quarter shots, so this was my first time getting a full view of her. I suspected she was a perfectly normal human without so much as an inch of mystique. She was a young foreigner, around the same age, around the same age as me, loosely hanging hair spread around and over her shoulders. Her eyes were big and round. She was wearing plain clothes, socks with cute cartoonish bears printed on them, and fluffy slippers. She continued to cradle the clunky camera as if it were a stuffed animal, looking down at me with a troubled expression on her face. Mm, mm. It seemed like the girl was asking me something out of concern, but I still couldn't make out what she was saying. I couldn't understand her. Although she was probably speaking in English, the real deal was nothing like what was taught in school. Ah, I felt that. Even if I knew the grammar, I couldn't hold my own in a conversation. Play Minecraft, bro. I mean, legit, that's how I learned English for the most part. I just through playing Minecraft and many other video games. But Minecraft was definitely the one that helped me the most, since I truly had like a visual representation of what I was holding, and yeah, I knew what that was supposed to be in Romanian, so I could associate the words in my head, and yeah, thusly, and yeah, thus my English was born. Anyway, god damn it, my nose is itchy. Honestly, it didn't help that my head was a jumbled mess either. I doubted I could give her a decent answer even if she started talking to me in good old Japanese. My mind reeling, I looked like a goldfish, flapping my mouth open and shut. I couldn't make heads or tails of what was going on. As if prompted by the sight of me in such a sorry state, she kindly offered me her hand. My back had given out on me after all. Gingerly grabbing her fingertips, I could feel her body heat. I knew exactly how normal people felt, and she felt no different. Who. Who are you? The girl asked. Who are you? The girl asked in a slow, clear voice, carefully punctuating each word. Hooray for junior high level English! Even I could understand that. She was asking who I was, but seriously, that was what I wanted to ask her. In any case, I was somewhat relieved by her friendly disposition, so I decided to go ahead and introduce myself. I was planning a pathetic attempt at communicating by mastering all of the English vocabulary I knew. But before I could, someone whacked me with all their might on the back of the head. I swiftly fell unconscious. So when I regained consciousness, I briefly thought I was still dreaming, but I really was in a place that was completely foreign to me. The grimy ceiling didn't match the one in my bedroom, which I knew like the back of my hand. The place stank of ammonia. I anxiously shut up, trembling. Where the heck was this? It wasn't the same cramped room I was in right before I got knocked out. The place screamed prison. The place screamed prison cell, with an area roughly 9 by 9 feet. I was lying in a simple bed bolted to the ground. It was furnished with a scratchy blanket and sheets, along with a hard pillow. Facing the end of my outstretched legs was a narrow entrance fitted with iron bars. The air on the other side was bustling with the presence of people and their voices. The room only had one light bulb, small enough that I could probably wrap one hand around it. If that weren't bad enough, the darn thing kept flickering on and off. Perhaps the lights were turned off outside the room. It seemed that way. Anyhow, because it was so dark that I could hardly make anything out, I strove to comprehend the situation I found myself in, timidly hugging the blanket that had been placed over me. Where was I? What happened? It didn't make any sense. My mind swirling, I quietly got off the bed to make my way to the barred door. It didn't occur to me until then, but apparently someone had changed my clothes while I was out cold. Prior to now, I'd been wearing my high school uniform like always. After dutifully attending class, I'd headed straight to the library with that weird girl. Although I had no recollection of changing, I was currently wearing an unfamiliar khaki outfit that reminded me of workwear. Not only did it feel brand new, so did the underwear. The cold ground bit my bare feet to the bone. Okay, Um, Let me search what kahaki means. Meaning. Come on, Firefox, load faster. Fuck's sake. A light olive brown to moderate or okay. Yeah, this is the SCP suit, the fucking Class D. That's the Class D uniform. Okay. Not only did someone change my clothes while I was unconscious, it felt like my body had been washed squeaky clean as well. All my skin stung like I'd been given a body scrub, and I smelled of soap. It beat waking up to find myself solid, but it still put a bad taste in my mouth. Upon approaching the door, I wrapped my hands around the iron bars and tried to shake them. They wouldn't so much as budge. Directly across from me was another small cell just like mine, hosting a middle-aged man who was also wearing khaki workwear. He was sitting on his bed with his head resting against the wall, muttering who knows what. Based on the man's red hair and facial features, it was safe to assume he was a foreigner. He was extremely muscular and appeared to have some sort of strange tattoos ringing his neck. It was painfully obvious that he wasn't the sort to trifle with, and I sincerely doubted he understood Japanese. Anyway, lacking the courage to call out to him, I simply stood there dumbly. What was this place? I decided to try unraveling that mystery. Did I get mixed up in some crime? Had I been abducted by some random criminal who was keeping me imprisoned? But what end? And why me? It all felt so surreal. I wanted to believe it was all just a dream, but the cold floor, the pervasive discomfort, and the throbbing where my head was struck when I got knocked out, all of it was very much real. But if this wasn't a dream, what was it? At my wits' end, my mind shut down. I wanted to break down into tears. Hmm? A voice came from nowhere. Even as I jumped, the sound of footsteps grew closer. I didn't have to wait long before someone suddenly showed their face on the other side of the iron bars. It was the girl in the photos. After all this time, I still didn't know her name. She was still wearing the same outfit I saw her in before I was knocked out, but her camera wasn't with her this time. That struck me as horribly strange. I had this weird mental image that her and the camera came as a package deal. Well, I mean, yeah. Uh, from this dude's description, she seemed like Iris, but honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it is Iris, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Let me check the chat a bit. Okay, nothing. Let me get my posture corrector thingy. I should have gotten it from the beginning of the stream, but yeah, there we go. Small stupid brain going on. Okay. There we go. Now we're ready for more reading. So, although I didn't even know this mysterious girl were although I didn't even know this mysterious girl well enough to call her an acquaintance, I also felt an inexplicable closeness after seeing her countless times in the photos. Perhaps she felt the same, for she began to speak to me rather casually. Hmm? She spoke in what really did sound like English, but I couldn't understand any of it. Seeing that I was having trouble, the girl in the photos nodded her head several times before walking out of view. I could hear her talking in English to somebody a short distance away. A few minutes later, the girl in the photos returned in much the same manner as she originally came and offered me a big grin. When she did, the barred door slowly began to open. Evidently an electrically controlled automatic door, it opened on its own. Seeing as I was holding the bars at the time, this made me literally jump back in surprise. The girl in the photos anxiously waited for the door to fully open before looking up and waving at me. I was afraid that I might have misinterpreted what she meant, but gingerly stepped out into the corridor anyway. I looked around me. The darkness impaired my vision, but apparently there was an endless series of small rooms like the one I was in, akin to solitary confinement cells. There was neither rhyme nor reason to the age or ethnicity of the people sleeping or chatting inside the cells, but they had one thing in common. They all donned the same khaki workwear. Distracted by that, I fell behind a girl already making who was already making her way down the corridor. She only stopped to look over her shoulder once and jerked her chin as if to say, "Aren't you coming?" I silently followed her like a good little puppy. When they noticed us, the people in the cells began to shout and reach out for us through the gaps in the bars. Hmm, the girl in the photo scolded them, looking like a peeved cat, intent on hurrying me along. She marched up to me and snatched my hand. She practically dragged me away from there. I still didn't have a good grasp on the situation I was in, but simply holding the girl in the photo's hand strangely calmed me. I doubted she meant me any harm. In fact, I could tell she was on my side. I don't know, that seems kinda sus. Kinda sus. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. If every single other Class D person there was screaming and fucking putting their hands and fucking reaching their hands through the bars. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're maybe trying to warn you or something. I don't know. Okay, let's move on. The girl led me around for a few minutes. I wasn't sure if this was a prison, a hospital, or even a research facility. Whatever it was, the building seemed massive. Um, hint, it's the last one you mentioned. It was impossible to count all of the doors dispersed around the plain, nearly identical corridors. They broke off into a seemingly infinite number of branches. Many of the doors had the letters SCP written on them. I had absolutely no idea what that meant. Oh, my dude. It's going to be an interesting ride for you. So, without reading ahead, I think that maybe that girl is either Iris or somebody else, like one of the staff, and she's bringing him, the dude, whatever his name was, because we have no idea, and she's probably bringing him to an SCP to do experiments. So yeah, my dude, I don't know, stay safe, I guess. Okay, let's continue. After walking to the point, my feet were starting to grow a bit sore. After coming to the god damn it, what the fuck? After walking to the point, my feet were starting to grow a bit sore. The girl in the photos came to a stop. There was a randomly placed door in the corridor with a device that resembled an interphone built into the wall next to it. Standing on tiptoe, The girl in the photos held something like a card key up to the device. It must have served as some sort of verification for the doors. For the door slipped open with an electric buzz. "Come in," she said again in English, simple enough for me to understand. She curled her fingers toward the palm of her extended hand in a beckoning gesture. With her urging me along, I entered the room a few steps behind her. I could only assume she did something because the lights popped right on. As a result, I was able to get a full view of the room. From the looks of it, this was a cafeteria of sorts. The place was saturated with the smell of food. Multiple sets of tables and chairs claimed the space roughly the size of a high school classroom. Well-mounted exhaust fan spun round and round. Someone apparently forgot to clean up after himself, leaving a plate, fork, and coffee cup abandoned on one of the tables. Seeing as the room was desolate aside from the two of us, it was safe to assume this wasn't meal time. The girl trudged me over to the nearest chair, pulled it out, and plunked right down. She motioned me over with her eyes, so I took a seat directly across from her. The girl seemed antsy, swinging her legs back and forth as she studied me. "Mm?" she said, but I couldn't understand her for the life of me. Man, if I knew this was going to happen, I would have taken my English classes more seriously. So it's not just the fact that English classes and school suck. You also didn't take them seriously. God damn it, mate. You are real dumb. Like you are the epitome of stupidity right now. Anyway, she must have found our inability to communicate just as aggravating because she scrunched the bridge of her nose in annoyance as she repeated the beckoning motion. Flicking her fingers toward herself, I got the feeling she was saying lean toward me, so I did just that. The way I leaned in could easily be confused with the gesture for requesting a kiss, so I was a bit nervous. But rather than indulge in any amorous pursuits, the girl pulled out a collar from somewhere and attached it to my neck. Taken by surprise, I was like a deer caught in headlights. Damn. Poor dude. Okay, yep. So here we have our first, one of our first illustrations. Now let me do a little compare. Oh my god, I thought the stream was private for a second. Oh my god, imagine that. Oh my, that would have been so shitty. Okay, so let's see if the girl looks similar to Iris. Okay, that's page 2. That's, yeah, I think that's Iris. At least if the girl in the cover art is Iris, I have no idea. But she looks like an Iris, and I've read the description of her SCP page. Someone actually sent it over to me from another set of books, not the light novel, some other kind of thing. And yeah, she was described there as having blonde hair and blue eyes, so yeah, I think that's Iris. Anyway, let's move along. The ring hung loosely around my neck. It seemed like a cheap rubber collar. I was flabbergasted, unable to discern what would compel her to do such a thing, but I was in for an even greater shock mere moments later. "Are you able to understand me now? Do you comprehend what I'm saying? A response would be most appreciated." Although somewhat stilted, she was speaking in Japanese. Actually, it sounded like she was still talking in English, which was converted to Japanese for me to understand without any time lag, I think. Bluntly put, it was really weird and hard to describe. Had putting had putting on this strange color made me suddenly proficient in English? It was bizarre. Almost it was a bizarre, almost magical experience. Huh? Was it no good after all? I didn't want to use the clockworks if I could avoid it, since the results are so unpredictable, but none of our Japanese speaking personnel are present and we don't have any translation devices on hand. The girl in the photos kept going on about stuff that went over my head. So I cut in responding to her in Japanese, although it came out faltering. I tried to tell her not to worry, that for some odd reason I could understand the meaning of her words coming from her mouth. She broke into a broad smile and gave an over exaggerated sigh of relief. Thank goodness. It would be inconvenient if we couldn't. It would be. Oh my god. It would be inconvenient if we couldn't ascertain mutual understanding. It makes anyone, even a humanoid SCP object, substantially easier to deal with if you can hold a conversation, she explained, throwing in a few terms I didn't recognize. Once finished, the girl pulled out of her chair. Of her chair. She went to the other side of the counter along the wall and began making a ruckus, shuffling things around. Do you like coffee? I have to load mine with gobs of sugar and milk. Oh, are you hungry? At the very least, I could warm up a frozen dinner for you, she offered, holding a siphon in one hand. Not thinking, I instinctively told her that I was good. It is hard to pick up with little nuances. It is hard to pick up little nuances with this. There's no need to hold back in inhabitant of Japan, she said. Not exactly what you'd call a perfect translation. She took her time preparing the coffee. Wait. Okay. As if it was, as if an afterthought, a way to kill time, she finally got around to sharing her name. I guess we should start with introductions. I'm Iris Thompson, although I am also called SCP-105. Oh, yeah, she is Iris. Okay, nice. If possible, please just call me Iris. The girl in the photos offered a moment's silence to indicate it was my turn now. I hastily told her who I was. You're called, right? In Japan, is that a common name? It sounds so mysterious. Sorry, but you are Japanese, aren't you? It certainly sounds like that's what you're speaking anyway. I acknowledged that she was right, and then I proceeded to tell her briefly about myself. I see. So you attend senior high school in Prefecture, Japan. One moment, please. I want to jot this down. Due to hearing translations of what you said, I'm not sure I heard the names correctly. If I could locate them, I might be able to discern where you came from. Apparently, the pot of coffee came out. A success because Iris came back with a cup in each hand. She walked over carefully, trying not to spill any. Here you go. She handed me a cup, holding on to her own as she hunkered back down in her chair. By the way, this place is located in the United States of America. Not that you to know where that is. It isn't marked on the map after all. This is a convert facility working under the cover story that it belongs to the government. In fact, Iris said, this is a stock standard research facility for the SCP Foundation. It seemed like she was observing my reactions as she spoke. She probably thought she was stealthily analyzing me, but her inexperience was showing through. It was so obvious what she was doing, it was actually somewhat cute. Our eyes happened to lock and she quickly turned away. Speaking of which, have you ever heard of the SCP Foundation? Iris wondered. I'd been wondering about that sequence of three alphabet letters ever since I first saw them earlier. They seemed like initials for something, but I was unfortunately ignorant as to what. Oh, so you don't know? Really? Well, if push comes to shove, she whispered to herself, we can always administer amnetics and implant false memories. What a blood curdling notion. I suppose there's no harm in going over it. She shifted to face me head on. Okay, so to keep this brief, I'll just give you a quick outline about the SCP Foundation. Okay, so at least from her description, it seems that my dude's name is very common, so I'm just going to call him Kazuma because, yeah, that's a very common name I've heard in Japanese media. So yeah, let's go with that. Mr. Kazuma, may I call you? I don't know. Mr. Kazuma, May I just call you Kazuma instead? I started out with a rather trivial question. When I nodded my head to indicate that I didn't mind, she broke out into a giant grin. I appreciate that. I realize it's coming on a bit strong when we just met, but I hate acting all stiff and formal. When I put my best manners on, I get a cramp in my neck from all that fake smiling. As if to prove it, she pulled her cheeks out in imitation of a forced smile. Each and every one of Iris's expressions were rich with emotion. Her movements were large and exaggerated. I guess foreigners were generally a bit too over the top compared to Japanese in that regard. Well, it depends. I won't say every foreigner is like that. But yeah, a lot of people are very, how would I say it? Uh, hmm excited in terms of their movements. Um, Excluding me, I'm fucking dead inside and outside, as you all can probably tell. But yeah, I'm the odd one out. Let's continue. Um, oh, okay. As such irrelevant thoughts were passing through my head, I suddenly looked very serious. At any rate, cousin, tell me, do you believe in God? That rang pretty oddly to my Japanese atheist ears. Why would she ask such a question? Was she a church missionary? Thoughts like that ran through my head as I shrunk back a bit. Seeing my reaction, Iris nodded knowingly and threw out two more questions. Then, do you think aliens exist? Do you believe in the existence of monsters, demons, ghosts, fairies, angels? What about other non-human life forms or superior beings? Have you personally witnessed magic, miracles, psychic powers, or other supernatural phenomena that ignore the laws of the natural world? Or do you believe it's possible for such phenomena to occur? Although Iris Long, wait a second, let me lower this down a bit too high. Okay, seeing my reaction, whoops, I read that already. Although Iris Long questions at me one after another, I was unable to throw any answers back. In all honesty, I was a little scared. Despite the friendly, down-to-earth impression she gave, Iris was starting to spout out incomprehensible nonsense along the same lines as that occult fanatic upperclassman. And she just kept going on and on. It had me pretty freaked out. Aliens, psychic powers, what the hell is this chick going on about? That crap only existed in movies and comics. In the real world, all of that was impossible. Back when I was little, there was a time I believed there might be something out there beyond the scope of rational thought. I even believed in Santa. Oh my god. If for some reason there are any little kids watching this, I'm sorry to have ruined your childhood. But yeah, Santa doesn't exist. neck is starting to hurt a bit. I'm going to take a little break, not that long, just a little snack break to, you know, keep my neck from exploding. What the fuck? Okay, that's much better. But apparently, my chair decided to lower itself down like a lot. So, yeah, that's. Or not. God damn it. Piece of shit. Come on. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's okay. Nope, it lowered itself down again. Fucking hell. I really need to get a new chair. Anyway, let's continue. But as I underwent my compulsory education, I obtained a certain degree of knowledge and experience. With that, I came to learn the supernatural was all just fabrication concocted in someone's head, or a bunch of baloney. I was a modern day high school boy with a good head on his shoulders. I wasn't about to fall for any of this nonsense. Neither gods nor demons dwelt in our world, and a person couldn't move a pebble with his mind. Scientists already finished explaining all the things once revered as divine ages ago, leaving the world bereft of any mystery of mystique. So yeah, I stand with this dude regarding the. Anyway, I don't even remember what I was trying to say. Fucking hell, let's go on. But not so fast. I was experiencing something strange that neither logic nor science could explain. I was right in the midst of a surreal situation, like something out of a fairy tale. No matter what book I picked up, there was always a photo tucked inside, and now I was holding a conversation face to face with the mysterious girl, Iris Thompson, who always appeared in those photos. If I took her words as truth, I was in a research facility clear on the other side of the world, off somewhere in America. This whole situation was so surreal, it felt like a dream. Was it possible for something so mysterious to happen in this world of ours? Please remain calm and hear me out, Iris said. She waited for the cascade of thoughts to finish racing through my mind before continuing. I've noticed you're an extremely normal, sensible person based on your reactions. I believe I had a similar reaction when I was first told about the SCP Foundation myself. I laughed it off as oh my god. I laughed it off as stupid only to turn around and think of my brush with the strange. I was dumbstruck when I realized what they meant. She explained earnestly, twirling her finger the whole time like a conductor's baton. While twirling her finger the whole time like a conductor's baton, finger moving with the ease of habit. Skipping straight to the point, monsters and all of that paranormal stuff that surpasses all rational thought really do exist. Just counting the ones I know, there are one, two, three. Honestly, I know too many to count on two hands, she said. she said. She opened both her hands. She opened both hands and ticked and ticked. She opened both hands and ticked something off and ticked something off on her fingers before giving up and turning to look me square in the eye. That goes to show just how many of these things are out there. These things, as in aliens, ghosts, and people with psychic powers, they really existed? Yes, for example, the old man is capable of causing any solid matter to corrode at a touch. Oh, I know that one. It's particularly fond of killing people with its corrosive power. There are superior beings akin to the gods or demons portrayed in mythology that surpass mankind in any number of ways, and and the researcher who could make countless duplicates of his mind. He travels the world by possessing various people and things. Iris listed these spine-chilling examples in her adorable voice. It was too much to swallow. An onslaught of unnerving stories all at once. If not for my personal experience with the strange and inexplicable, I would have thought she was spinning wild tales and laughed it off. But I was far from laughing now. I gulped in fear. Betraying not a single sign she'd been joking, Iris continued, deathly serious. All manner of mysterious beings and things are referred to as SCP objects. SCP. There was that strange acronym that I'd observed multiple times throughout the site. Although I figured they stood for something, they rang new and unfamiliar to my ears. I was still struggling to grasp the gist of them. Seeing me struggle, Iris offered a simple explanation. Basically, the S in SCP stands for secure, the C stands for contain, and the P is for protect. Thanks to the translation caller, what was that what it was? I heard the words in English but understood them in Japanese, making her explanation extremely easy to follow. Right, the goal of the oh my god. The goal of the organization is to swiftly and safely secure SCP objects, anomalous occurrences, and objects extending beyond human comprehension, to isolate them from the general public and contain them, then properly observe them and protect them. Uh-huh. So it was like a crossover between a spy organization for the supernatural and the guards for a vault. That might not actually be a good analogy. I couldn't think of a similar organization on the spot with my limited knowledge. Whatever, precisely because the SCP Foundation was isolating the eerie from conventional society, normal folk like us didn't even realize they existed. Yes, anomalies existed in the world, but the SCP Foundation was hiding them from the masses as they thoroughly secured, contained, and protected them. It feels weird for me to say we. But anyway, we are a secret organization carrying out the mission to secure, contain, and protect anomalies or SCP objects. Hence, in accordance, we are generally referred to as the SCP Foundation. she said. The strand of difficult words made it hard for me to follow. The SCP Foundation, as implied by the name Foundation, is built upon a foundation of massive financial resources, which serve as the substrate for its international operations. There are research sites like this one scattered across the globe, each heavily staffed with researchers and other personnel. While I strived to digest that information, Iris plowed right on. There are countless agents who travel the world and blend into society to conduct investigations rather than remaining permanently stationed at any one site. I'm sure the Foundation has extended its reach to Japan and spread its roots there as well. It had, but seeing as it was a secret organization, there was naturally no way a normal high school boy such as myself would know. This was the upper class. Oh, whoops. This was the sort of far-fetched conspiracy story that would make my occult-crazed upperclassmen flip out. It was hard to believe, and yet, here I was, in one of the research facilities run by that strange organization operating behind the scenes in the world of the supernatural. It made me feel awkwardly out of the place. It made me feel awkwardly out of place, like I'd stumbled into a movie. Simply hearing about all of it filled me with such fear that I began to tremble. I wasn't sure what she mistook the trembling for, but Iris poured me more. Iris poured more coffee into my cup. Really, you shouldn't have too much caffeine, or you might have trouble sleeping tonight. She stuck her tongue out. I found the sight comforting and relaxed a bit. I heaved a long, heavy sigh of relief. It didn't seem like she had anything to gain by deceiving me with absurd stories, so at least for the time being I was going to take her words at face value. Besides, we wouldn't get anywhere if I questioned every little thing. That fair enough. Evidently not a fan of bitter coffee, I observed Iris drop several sugar cubes in her drink right before my eyes. She proceeded to stir it as the girl in the photos. I sincerely doubted she was unrelated to the strange things occurring to me. I decided to be open about my concerns. We don't have the answers to any of that ourselves, Iris replied, her brows pinched in consternation. In fact, my goal is to discover who you are, as well as how and why you appeared in our research facility, but you aren't sure yourself, are you? Nope, I was totally clueless. I see, this could prove problematic. I subjectively, not objectively, perceive you aren't a bad person. This is my biased personal opinion. There's no saying how the other personnel will appraise you. Iris folded her arms and grumbled to herself as she racked her brain. Humans fear the unknown, seeing as your identity is unknown excruciatingly through seeing as your identity is unknown excruciatingly through thorough and elaborate safety procedures will be enacted unless you are impartially deemed safe, she said. I bet this was an issue with the translation color, which was probably altering her words to convey minor nuances in her speech. Whatever the case, the slew of difficult words made it challenging for me to wrap my mind around what Iris was saying. Honestly, it made the way she talked sound unnatural. I had no doubt she was talking perfectly normally in English, but that didn't help me much. I suspect the standard SCP containment procedures will be put in place. Bluntly put, you'll be locked in a completely enclosed room. If you try to leave, explosives will detonate and chemicals will dissolve and sterilize everything in the room, or something along those lines. Iris mumbled the details of the horrifying processes before closing her eyes and contemplating in silence for a moment. I'd hate for that to happen to you, she said as she opened her eyes, offering an awkward smile. As such, you're staying in my room as of today. from my perspective, she just randomly blurted out the most insane idea. A cute girl. A cute girl told me to stay with her. Normally, I would be overjoyed, expecting fun times ahead, but not under these circumstances. I wasn't exactly a hormone crazed beast thrown off kilter. I wasn't sure how to respond. Yep, I've decided that will be for the best. I'm going to let the doc know, okay? Apparently, Iris's earlier statement wasn't a question like, would you like to stay with me? But the order, you are going to stay with me. Without so much as waiting for my response, she darted off to the back of the room. I bet this cafeteria like room probably had something like a kitchen or staff office in the back. From the sound of it, an intercom was installed in there. I could hear Iris's cheerful voice carry on for a time after she dialed the dock up. Due to the distance, I could only catch snippets of what was said. With nothing better to do, I sipped at my coffee. The awkward downtime allowed my mind to suddenly resume rational thought. Fear and unease came crashing down upon me. What time was it now? Without any clocks or windows in the cafeteria, I couldn't tell. My internal clock said that the sun had already set and it was well into the night. I wondered if my family was worried about me. I bet they thought I went missing. That senpai I was with probably let them know what happened, and then they asked the police to search for me. Or something like that. Maybe? If I was truly in the United States, it was a first world country, so there should be plenty of telephones. Maybe I could make an international call to my home and let my family know I was alright. I was of a mind to I was of a mind to ask Iris when she returned. But if everything Iris just told me was true, this was a research facility hidden from the eyes of the public. Seeing as the Foundation viewed me as a suspicious man of unknown origin, it seemed unlikely they would allow me to simply call home. I wondered what was going to happen to me going forward. Was the Foundation going to do terrible, painful things to me? Most likely. Although it had nearly slipped my hand, someone had already whacked me on the back of the head and locked me in a room akin to a prison cell. I probably shouldn't get my hopes up for a warm welcome as an honored guest. Yup. My fears were growing worse by the second. Iris's presence and the way she treated me with her own brand of warm, quirky kindness were my only saving grace. Sorry to keep you waiting. Iris apologized casually, waltzing back after a fairly lengthy call. I received permission so you can stay with me starting today. I put in a request for a change of clothing and other basic necessities. I'll show you to my room in a bit, okay? But first, she revealed her pearly whites in a happy grin for some odd reason. Aren't you hungry? It's awfully late, but if you don't mind, why don't we grab a bite to eat? I've had an unusually hectic day, so I could use the calorie intake. Iris' sentences came out sounding as weird as ever, but I understood the gist of what she was saying. And come to think of it, I was actually hungry. I went to the library with that upperclassman after school, which would put it around 5 p.m. Although I didn't know the exact time now, Although I don't know the exact time now, if it was around midnight, that meant roughly 7 hours had passed. That was plenty of time for a young, healthy high school boy such as myself to completely digest the contents of his stomach. Great! It makes for an odd sight when one person isn't eating and the other is stuffing her face. Iris said, grinning happily. She brought something over to our table. Are you okay with pizza? I feel like I'll get fat eating it at this hour, but it seems good enough since it's quick and free. As she said that, sure enough, she placed the pizza box down on the table in front of me. It was a perfectly normal, thin, square box that appeared to be made out of cardboard. The logo to a pizza chain I recognized. The logo to a pizza chain I recognized, yet couldn't place. I, I, okay, there was a bit of a error here. Here it says the logo to a pizza chain I recognized yet couldn't place the printed on the box. Was printed on the box when I think it's supposed to say the logo to a pizza chain I couldn't yet I couldn't recognize yet. Wait. The logo to a pizza chain I couldn't recognize yet was printed. I was printed on the box along with the word pizza in large font. After such a bold declaration, I'd actually be surprised if there wasn't pizza in that box. I'm going first, Iris declared. She must have been famished. She licked her lips hungrily before popping the box open. A normal, steaming hot pizza was inside. It looked awfully good. The pit of my stomach began to growl. Oh my god, what? Now, goddamn it, my chair is all the way down again. Fucking hell. Piece of shit chair. Stay in the same position I put you in, you goddamn fucking asshole. Okay. Nope, it's going down again. Fuck me, I guess. Okay. I figured this is what I'd get. Iris made that strange remark as she brought out the large plastic plates tucked under her arms. She placed one in front of each of us, effortlessly picking the pizza up with both hands. She plopped it on the plate in front of her. The whole damn thing! I was hoping she'd share with me, but apparently she intended to devour the entire pizza on her own and took a massive bite out of it. The melting cheese stretched and stretched. This is the best, Iris cried blissfully, chomping her food before gulping it down. I always get a small with thin wheat crust. Olives are a must. The rest varies on the day, but it's always a healthy pizza that isn't too heavy or spicy, she explained before giving me a puzzled look. Honestly, I want pizza now. Why? Why did an SCP novel of all things make me hungry for pizza? God damn it. Okay. I wasn't sure what she wanted from me. Seeing me grow flustered, she burst out with an of realization. She put down the partially eaten pizza and wiped her mouth with a paper napkin that was already at the table when we first arrived. Feel free to help yourself, Iris offered. She closed the lid of the empty pizza box and pushed it to me. Jeez, like offering an empty pizza box would do me any good. I was hungry. I needed more than a gesture. Oh, right, you don't know about this, do you? Okay, fair enough. That little detail totally slipped out of my mind. Iris battered eyes exaggeratedly. Although you probably can't tell at a glance, this is also an SCP object. Yep, this here pizza box. We always keep it here in the canteen, so I grabbed it. She said, indicating the box with her hands. But I was still a bit confused. That was an SCP object. A mysterious object that defied human logic. Doesn't look like it, does it? I know how you feel, but the thing is, it really is one. Iris continued on eloquently, her meal forgotten. This box is SCP-458. In other words, it is the 458th SCP object identified by the Foundation. It is known as the Never-Ending Pizza Box. It had a rather fun name, and here I'd thought that all these so-called SCP objects were terrifying after Iris's earlier explanation. Infinite pizza! My tension oddly melted at hearing the idea. I burst out laughing. So yeah, my dude, there are quite a few harmless SCPs out there, but you need to remember that most of them are still fucking horrible abominations that will fucking kill you at first glance or something, or curse you. What's so funny, this is a very impressive, mysterious SCP object in its own right. It's extremely convenient, not just me, but all of the on-site personnel love it. For whatever reason, Iris seemed pretty keen to defend the virtues of the box. She jutted out her lips in a pout. Well, I guess it isn't surprising. After all the intimidating things I said, there are also harmless or amusing SCP objects that are more like parlor tricks than anything dangerous. But just because the Foundation deems them harmless doesn't mean they aren't incomprehensible anomalies, so never take them lightly. As if an afterthought, she began rattling off another slew of technical terms. For the record, SCP objects are divided into 3 classes: Safe, Euclid, and Keter. Based on how difficult they are to contain. In many cases, the containment difficulty is directly proportional to the SCP's level of danger. Iris swung her finger around as she offered a detailed explanation. Almost too detailed, really. Let's say we were going to contain an SCP object in a box. If we could put it in a box and everything was okay, it's safe. If we could put it in the box, but who knows what would happen if we did, it's Euclid. If it wouldn't go, if it wouldn't go, we couldn't get it in, or it popped out after we put it in the box, it's Keter. I believe that sums it up. I wasn't quite sure whether or not I understood the analogy. The never-ending pizza box is object class safe. It is considered particularly harmless. On top of that, it is terribly handy to have around, Iris said, smiling like a mischievous child. She pointed at the perfectly ordinary-looking pizza box and urged, "Go ahead and open it. I'm sure you'll be in for a surprise." Although a bit flabbergasted, I did as I was told. I opened the never-ending pizza box. True to her prediction, my eyes nearly popped out of my head. Nested in the box was what appeared to be a hot pizza fresh out of the oven. But that was impossible. Iris had just grabbed one herself. But then she closed the lid, only for me to open it and find another pizza in the box. A box that should by all rights have been empty. To top it off, this was even a different type of pizza from the one she got. Bigger than hers, thick crusted, and it was heavily loaded with seafood and broccoli. What the heck? This didn't make any sense. Didn't I tell you? It defies all logic. Hence, it's an SCP object. Iris tilted her head back. It felt like she was gloating for some reason. She cheerfully pulled a folded sheet of paper out of her pocket. Unfolding it, she looked down and hummed contemplatively as she read over the note. Curious what it said, I tried to sneak a peek, only for Iris to stop. "No!" in a surprisingly stern voice. "You aren't allowed to look. In a sense, I am allowed some personnel privileges, so I've got authorization. This is a report documenting details pertaining to this SCP object, or to be precise, a copy of the report. Technically, it's explicitly prohibited to make copies, but I had to cheat a bit since I can't remember every little detail." Iris left me mystified. once again setting her eyes on the piece of paper or report, I guess. She began to read aloud. SCP-548 is a large-sized pizza box from the pizza chain Little Caesars. Oh, Little Caesars! Of their hot and ready variety. It is made of simple cardboard measuring 25.4 centimeters by 25.4 centimeters by 2.54 centimeters. So that's way too many fucking precise measurements. Though this shouldn't surprise me, as this is pretty much what SCP is normally. Okay, we don't have much until this chapter's ending, so that's good. Because this is where I'm going to end the stream, like after I finish this chapter, because my god, this took a while. Although the string of numbers meant nothing to me, I figured this meant it was a normal pizza box. What makes SCP-548 an oddity is that while appearing to be an ordinary pizza box, when it comes into contact with human hands, it instantaneously replicates the holder's subconsciously preferred choice of pizza down into the favorite sauce, cheese, crust, and topping. Damn. That's extremely interesting. Okay, my neck's starting to fail again. Time for some Pringles. Because apparently Pringles fixed my neck pain. Whatever. My throat pain. Okay, that should probably be more than enough to last me through this last page. But honestly, man, this SCP sounds so convenient. Like legit, it's infinite pizza, and at that, it's the pizza that you subconsciously want. Like, man, this SCP seems great. Although merely conjecture, it is believed the never-ending pizza box could create a near-infinite supply of pizza. It is a miraculous item that could save countries suffering from food shortages. But even though test results deemed it safe, its classification as an SCP object prevents us from being able to take it to the outside world. Iris said it with a dry smile, her eyes looking off into the distance. Okay. After all, the Foundation's goal is strictly to secure, contain, and protect. They don't care if it's something wondrous that could help better mankind. As a rule of thumb, it will stay locked up forever under their close observation, never getting to see the light of day. The Foundation owns you until the day you... She suddenly cut herself off and blatantly changed the topic. So, that's the type of pizza it makes for you, huh? I can see you're a seafood lover. May I have a bite? Having already gobbled up her own pizza, Iris was going after mine. Jeez, she didn't need to steal my food. Wasn't this thing supposed to spit out an infinite quantity of pizza? Why not just pop the lid again? Well, actually, it seems this thing isn't horribly flexible. When it does its thing, it always makes a whole new pizza. I don't have enough room to eat that much, she said sadly. Feeling a bit bad for her, I gave her just one slice of my pizza. Beaming with happiness, she gobbled it down. So this is your favorite type of pizza. One of the interesting features about this box is that it appears to possess a form of telepathy. It uses that ability to ensure it creates the perfect pizza for its holder. Iris spoke cheerfully, but then her face twisted into a frown. That darn Dr. Bright. There's a person by that name, someone you might even call a mad scientist. He experimented on SCP-548 by having a bunch of people and sentient SCP objects pop it open just for the fun of it. Supposedly, he was curious to see what he could learn from tracking what kinds of pizza would appear. Dr. Bright. When she mentioned his name, her expression changed entirely. It was a meaningful scowl, seething with hatred, but at the same time etched with understated terror. As a result of those tests, we found out that the box cannot produce toppings indigestible to humans, so these are overall perfect pizzas, safe to eat, delicious and healthy. But since pizza is high in calories, be careful not to pig out on them. Apparently, she was inclined to bring things to an end now that we were done eating. Iris stood up, she wiped her mouth with the paper napkin, and shot me a smile. At any rate, the world is full of strange things, SCP objects like this. We have quite a few here in this facility, she said. I got the feeling that the pizza box was no accident. Iris had brought me in contact with an SCP object that would serve as a concrete example to support her explanation of the basics. Ever since we first met, she'd been nothing but nice to me. It was surprising, honestly, for her to be so nice. We weren't family or anything. I was a complete stranger, someone she'd just met. Why was she going out of her way for me? I received my answer sooner than I expected. By the way, I mentioned that I am referred to as SCP-105 earlier, didn't I? I am also contained in this facility as an SCP object since I have a somewhat special ability. So said the perfectly ordinary-looking foreign girl, self-deprecatingly, standing there with her hands on her chest. Then she pointed at me. The Foundation has decided to call you SCP-105-C. As you can probably tell from the name, they believe you're either an accessory or something related to me as SCP-105. The girl in the photo said cryptically, "We aren't just strangers." Oh, okay, damn. This was honestly extremely interesting. Like, legit. This was really nice. Did not I definitely didn't expect this from this light novel, and honestly I had a great time reading it. Like, yeah. Okay, let me switch over to our to our normal setup now that we're done reading, so that we can have a bit of a chat. Okay. God damn it. Okay, so my chair seems to be acting like a piece of shit right now because yeah, it does not want to stay at the height level it's supposed to stay at. And that pisses me off very much. And yeah, now it's going down. I just raised it up and now it's going down again. God damn it. So yeah, that's pretty much it from this. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this stream. I hope you all had a very nice time watching me read this novel, light novel, and yeah. Oh my god, I'm dying apparently. So yeah, hopefully we will be reading more of this novel in the future. Maybe I'll do a stream about this novel every month or something. So yeah, you could probably expect that. Probably reading one chapter at a time, or maybe two or more, depends on how much time I have, to be honest. So yeah, because yeah, there are excluding the prologue and the chapter we just left, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 more chapters. So if we were to go by this 1 or 2 chapters per month sort of deal. So if we were to go 1 chapter a month, we would finish it in 8 months, which honestly is a bit much for me. So, but it generally depends on how shit at school will be going for me, since I am starting high school in 8 days. So I'm starting high school in a week. I'm scared shitless. But yeah, anyway, enough of me being scared about school and shit. Yeah. So yeah, it will depend completely on how much free time I have from school. So, and if we do 2 chapters a month, that would be 4 months. Yeah. So that would be 4 months if we were to do 2 chapters per month. And honestly, I think that would be better, but again, depends on how much time I have. I don't know how regularly I'll be making content for the channel, starting the week next from next week. Like next week. I don't know how regularly I'll be posting on the channel anymore, but yeah. I will still be posting things here occasionally. Maybe do more live streams, since yeah, these are very easy for me to make. That it don't take that much time. Like in terms of work, like editing and other shit. And yeah, probably expect more live streams from next. I mean, don't expect more. Just expect live streams to sort of replace videos, if that makes any sense. So yeah, from next week, you should probably expect more streams and less so videos. Again, I don't know how Retro Saturday or Sâmbătă Retro will continue. I'll probably make it like 2 times a month sort of thing, like once every other Saturday, so that yeah, I could still have time for things. So yeah. So yeah, generally the channel is going to be slower in terms of content for the duration of these let's see, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. So yeah, for the duration of so during the next 10 months, expect content production on this channel to be way lower than it was until now. I'm sorry that I have to say that, but yeah, that's going to be how things will be. I may I may like start uploading clips from streams, like making highlights or something while in this 10 month period of of not inactivity, but yeah, coma, I guess, for the channel. So in this coma period for the channel, I'll probably be making clips from streams and uploading them, since that will be fairly easy to do, and yeah, you still get something even though it's not something really new. But don't worry, as I've said before, there will still be new content, just at a slower pace than before. Other things to talk about. I finished watching, what was it called? Teasing Master Takaki-san. That was a very nice anime. Really great. Would definitely recommend it. It just, I was feeling some mad secondhand embarrassment for the dude because my god, he was just so dumb. Like, god damn it. The dude was just incredibly dumb and also stubborn. But yeah, it ended really nicely. I won't spoil anything. But here's the thing: I don't know if I watched season 2 or season 1 since I watched it on Netflix. And yeah, that only has one season, but it's labeled as season 2. So yeah, I have no idea what season of the anime I watched. Anyhow, I'm almost done with Non Biori. I am halfway through season 3. I just need to watch that and watch the movie, and then I'll be done with that anime franchise. And honestly, that is Non Biori is really great. Like, honestly, fun times overall. Really chill. Fucking loved it. I recently started watching another anime called The Great Jahi Will Not Be Defeated. I think that was its title. It's currently still ongoing, only has 5 episodes out, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's a great anime. I fucking love it. I fucking love that show. I need to catch up on episodes 4 and 5 since I haven't seen them yet. The characters are really funny, and I'm really glad that the main character, Jahi, is this was a very how should I say? This was a very nice surprise, but the main character Jahi is voiced by the voice actor of Satanikia from Gabriel Dropout. And if you know me, Gabriel Dropout was one of my favorite animes, and it's still very much up there. If I were to do a top 3 of my if I were to do a top 3 of my favorite animes of all time, it would go Konosuba, combatants will be dispatched, and Gabriel drop out. Like, legit, those 3 shows are fucking amazing. Would definitely recommend them to everyone here. um, so, anything else? Oh yeah, I might do a goddamn. So I might do a tier list video regarding something. I don't know exactly what as of yet, but you know, the idea of making a tier list always fascinated me. So I might be doing one. I don't know about what. Maybe anime, maybe all the cartoons, maybe maybe snacks, maybe Romanian food. Like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, I think that's about it. I don't have anything to say anymore. And yeah, we've been streaming for long enough, almost 2 hours at this point. So yeah. If you liked this stream, don't forget to press that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to press that incredible subscribe button. We are extremely close to our goal of 200 subscribers. Yeah, leave a comment saying anything you want, except anything that's weird, I guess, or creepy in any sort of way. You know how this shit works. Share this video with your friends and your family, your dog, your cat, and hell, maybe even the alien you keep locked up in your attic. Honestly, I don't really care. And yeah, don't forget to goddamn. And yeah, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at BogdanLH. B, L, and H are capital. The B, L, and H are capitalized. If you wanted to see when I post new videos, I do new live streams, do shit regarding music, or if you just want to see me talk shit. Shit, don't tell me my internet's dead. Fuck. Wait a second. I think my internet might have died on me. God damn it. Goal of 200 subscribers. Yeah, leave a comment, except any way you share this, even the goddamn H, B, L, and do shit regarding music, or if you just okay, no. Internet was fine. So yeah, follow me there if you want to see updates regarding those things, or if you just want to see me talk shit. Don't forget to give me a follow on Instagram at Bogdan Hatsegan, all lowercase. If you want to see random pictures of random sceneries and flowers, I guess, and also sometimes occasional updates as to when I'll be posting new videos. If you have a TikTok, okay, I'm on there too. I post clips from my videos and live streams there, so go follow me at I think it was Bobo H or H Bobo, something like that. There's a link in the description, click on that. Anyway, yeah, that's it for this stream. I hope you all liked it, and yeah, I was Bobo, and I'll see you next time. Bye.